The United States has been bombarded by weapons of mass destruction, and Taiwan might be next, suffering the same fate of having freedom of speech completely annihilated. What up? 大家好，我是唢呐。A big shout out and thanks to everyone who donated and supported our last episode. And some people even sent us money directly. Dorothy, I see you, girl. And even Peter Boghossian himself showed up in the comments. By the way, we do try to read all of your comments, and most of you guys seem really good at critical thinking. So this episode was supposed to cover the origins of extreme PC culture, but then the other night, I heard one of my favorite upcoming Taiwanese rappers drop this.
你们选择不冲不气，不会为自己活着。我的观念、脾气、个性没改变，我还是讨厌懦夫。和政府的狗呢？事实的确是你们做了决定，我都无法改变什么。你干脆把我送到那古塔，去你的愚民政策，台湾风气越来越垮，去你的蔡英文，操你妈的数位中介法。
Damn son, where'd you find this?
Shout out to my boy V, but the 蔡英文那段, I don't know, bruh. I think it's just a draft.
Be cool! It's cool, baby! It's cool!
Still cool, honey bunny.
So maybe chill. Real talk, one of the best aspects of hip-hop, to me anyway, ain't the ass or the hose, although that's good too. It's hip-hop's ability to deliver real shit without pulling punches or innuendo. A reminder to you guys, if you've got something to say, then spit that shit, son, and send it to us. We just might blast it on our channel. And while you're at it, 大嘻哈时代第二季快要开始海选. So bring your A game, and I hope to see some of our viewers up on that stage. So, V, my homie.
My nigga.
Wakarikong. In your bars, you claim that you aren't interested in politics. But if anyone fucks with your freedom of speech, so, in the words of Awi's wife and the many women before her,
deeper.
如果只有 F 但不够深，每个女生或男生 PC 某中都会跟你说不够啦，再写多一点啊。到大嘻哈时代第二季唱给我们听，要顶准一点哦。
Go big or go home, you know?
So back to my point. The Taiwanese government is currently considering legislation to combat misinformation via censorship of speech. And this potential piece of legislation immediately aroused our interest, so we dug out research on how other countries have been handling it, only to find that misinformation is more destructive than a nuclear bomb, yo. And you know what it is. We've broken it down into 3 parts, just for you.
Hold on to your butts.
Between 2016 and 2017, the Burmese military, under direct influence of fake news and misinformation spread via Facebook, annihilated 25 Muslim Rohingya people.
Jesus.
There is another term for this act, but because of YouTube censorship, I'll simply refer to it as G. But I put a link to info about what actually happened in the description down below. So, after an investigation, the UN determined that Facebook played a key role in inciting the actual G event, enabling the spread of anti-Muslim content that targeted the Rohingya people and declared it a useful instrument for those seeking to spread hate. In February 2021, Facebook banned the Burmese military from using Facebook completely. Another example is Brexit. According to the Guardian survey, when asked why Britain supported leaving the EU, they cited believing that more than half of the 65 million people who joined were young Muslims. This is the kind of fake news and misinformation that drove an entire country out of Europe, yo. Now it seems as if they may want back in. Wanna know more? Google Dominique Cummings. Misinformation is dangerous. Not only does misinformation cause physical harm and tragedy, it can also cause long-term mental and psychological damage. In 2021, a study was conducted by the National Journal of Public Health on the effects of misinformation during the pandemic, which they aptly named the infodemic. They reviewed over 500,000 participants ages 18 to 60 in 14 different countries and concluded that upon encountering misinformation on social media, the participants saw an increase in distrust in health professionals, the government, and health institutions. And also, they found a direct correlation in the increase in fatigue, anxiety, panic, and fear. And that although senior citizens were more susceptible to misinformation and spreading it, that young people saw the largest outbreaks in anxiety and psychological meltdowns. Misinformation is dangerous, kind of like a mentally poisonous drug. Every day you pick up your phone and get just a small hit, a microdose of fake news. But after a long period of time, the next thing you know, you wake up and your freedom of speech is gone. No way. Because although the Constitution may guarantee your freedom of speech, what it doesn't guarantee is your freedom of thought.
You're goddamn right.
As long as you control your thoughts, you can control your speech. Your words become actions, and actions change your fate. So you might think, oh, fake news is just annoying, nothing serious. Any idiot can see the difference. Wrong, motherfucker. That shit is dangerous as fuck. Now, the government can't even stop platforms like Facebook from providing you with that dose of poison, especially when Taiwan faces the world's second largest military power and is currently the #1 country attacked by misinformation in the world. This weapon has been used on Taiwan for many years, and the country has already suffered many casualties at the hands of it. But does that mean that we have to support censorship in order to take back control and combat against it? Real talk, Taiwanese law is really difficult for me to understand. But thanks to the lovely and very intelligent Yingzhen律师for explaining how it works clearly and quickly. And if you haven't yet, make sure you check her out. So, is limitation of speech an effective way to combat misinformation? Well, let's take a look at India. According to Wire magazine, in 2018, their response to fake news and misinformation was to completely shut down the internet. They shut down the internet over 100 times in a single year.
Yeah, that seems a bit much.
The Indian government actually dared to challenge the world's largest IT exporter to get online? Well, guess what happened? Not only did the country lose billions of dollars, but during the shutdown, misinformation and fake news continued to spread because of a little-known invention called VPN. Well, what about Spain? Well, in the same year as India, early March 2018, the National Security Commission of the Congress of Deputies passed a proposal asking the government to take action against misinformation online. The committee requested that the government cooperate with the EU in developing strategies against misinformation. But the proposal was voted down by the left-wing coalition. But 8 months later, just after the Prime Minister accused Russia of conducting a misinformation attack campaign against them, they signed a pact with Russia to combat misinformation.
That don't make no sense.
Together, they formed a social media task force of about 100 people to specifically check every post related to politics on social platforms. 很奇怪呢. That's about as strange as YT asking Chinese offices to review content for ad suitability in a country that actually bans YouTube.
Well, it would seem that we have a conflict of interest.
But what about the United Kingdom? Well, their policy is actually quite similar to America's, where our response is quick. The United Kingdom needed to break for tea and some biscuits.
Tasty. Crumpets and tea. All in favor of crumpets and tea, say aye.
Aye. Requiring 18 months to decide to ban the term fake news, and instead of limiting online speech, they invested heavily into incorporating social media literacy into school curriculum, teaching young people how to identify sponsored posts and ads with political agendas. So, is educating children a useful strategy? Let's ask the cousins to the west of the UK, where tea is for soccer moms, and that's why we drink coffee, frappuccino or triple latte with extra caramel topping. The American way, son. Not only do we educate our kids on misinformation and fake news, but we also really like money. The scariest organization in America is not the DOD or the NSA or the CIA, it's the IRS. As long as you owe them money, they will find you and collect. In America, we actually have a saying. There are only two things certain in life, death and taxes. So the US legislated that every social platform must provide the background and account information of any organization or individual who purchases ads upon request. Because when all else fails, just follow the money trail. So with that in mind, which country's policy do you think might be useful for Taiwan? In 2015, the National Center for Biotechnology Information published a study on the influence of mass media on adolescents. What it found was that traditional methods such as censorship and limited speech are no longer effective. But what was extremely effective was education, something they called social media literacy. Interestingly enough, Taiwan added online education to its curriculum several years ago. Oddly enough, in spite of this study, in 2016, a year later, Donald Trump was still elected to the highest office in the land. The outside meddling of America's democratic process resulted in almost irreversible repercussions. So back to Taiwanese law. According to Zhen Lü Si, there are actually a few laws that YTR really needs. So the platform must inform their audience of the algorithm so that they can decide for themselves to engage with it or not, and inform content creators on why their content was flagged. These types of things are actually pretty helpful, but there are some laws that have loopholes and are easily circumvented, which restricts freedom of speech. And Taiwan's current strategy to dispel misinformation, unfortunately, is about as effective as V's rap song, just not deep enough. Now don't get it twisted, it's a great start to call out bullshit and censorship, but if legislators want to think critically, there are actually quite a few decent ideas. For example, why not incorporate a kind of misinformation military drill? Previously, when Nancy Pelosi visited Taiwan, convenience stores suffered a massive hack. Perhaps dissemination of false information through military exercises can inform Taiwanese people what a misinformation attack actually looks like, and how to discern verified useful information. I mean, you could start by 业配好机车频道啊，比如说唢呐只有10公分呢。这是不可能的代志啦。
You are fake news.
Clearly, I'm talking about my hair, you goddamn pervert.
やっぱり先輩ってむっつりスケベなんすね。
The point is to allow adults, especially the elderly, the ability to identify fake information. Any company that provides a digital bot promotion service should be regulated and licensed, because information, just like guns, knives, and vehicles, can be abused. So we should regulate those particular online merchants and service providers, because misinformation is a national security issue. Because if you rely on the platforms which have the power of small countries to do it themselves, well, we've already seen what that will get us. So what if the Taiwanese government created their own social media platform and limited politicians to only speaking on their regulated platforms, where people can express their views critically and freely from both sides on all topics regarding society? Debates could be engaged in the comments or in live stream, minimizing misleading political ads, unverified information, and the twisted narratives of TV stations. It would also allow people to experience firsthand what political candidates are really like without the confusion and misinformation of bot armies. A few episodes back, I stated that if war broke out in Taiwan, I would stay and fight, and that is a promise I intend to keep. But the truth is, the war has already started, fools. Information war. And I'm trying to find ways to help Taiwan, but I'm just a lonely nigga in Banqiao. I need your help too. Drop your views and ideas in the comments and let's discuss it. So in the next episode, we are finally going to reveal the origins of extreme PC culture that gave birth to nut jobs like this.
Do you identify as black?
Woo! So hold on to your butts for that one. Remember to like, subscribe. We will see you on the flip side. Peace!